Welcome everyone to another lesson in the New Testament is Fake series. It is November 16, 2022, and this is the Yalak Emet channel on Twitter, YouTube, Patreon with the New Testament is Fake lesson series. Once again, bringing you more of the unadulterated madness of Calvary. This is lesson number 293. Now, my lesson today is titled, Thieves and Liars Complain. New Testament believers sometimes complain that Old Testament believers who teach God's original instructions from the Old Testament or the Torah are wrong. But I want to read to you here a couple verses. This one here from Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 20. It says, "But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die." So to speak in other names, the Most High is basically saying he has nothing to do with it. Now look at this other verse from Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 24. And again, my lesson is titled, Thieves and Liars Complain. "They also that erred in spirit shall come to understanding, and they that murmured shall learn doctrine." Now, I said earlier, I'm bringing you another lesson in this New Testament is Fake series, which is just another lesson that shows up the, like I said, unadulterated misunderstanding or madness of Calvary, of belief in Calvary for your salvation. And here he uses the word understanding as well. They have erred in spirit, but they will come to understanding. That's in the future once we are restored, the Most High turns back to us. So he says they shall come to understanding. So it should make you question if we were taught understanding all along from we were children, and even those who died before us, who are running the churches and the ministries before us, who left the ministry, left the church to the new pastor and the new people, the new ministers running it. Did they also have understanding? Because it's funny that Israelites are in large part teaching this Calvary message, even though a lot of other people on earth are teaching that as well. Like, how is it possible? Now, I can see somebody mimicking the true correct message, mimicking it in some kind of way to pull off a deception. But for so many people in so many countries to be having the same trust and belief in Jesus, who are not trying to mimic anything but are just choosing it not to deceive and to mimic and to pretend an identity and so on, but are choosing Calvary because they sincerely believe it is the way to salvation. I can see them doing it for that reason, because they believe by this belief in Calvary they'll be saved. So one or two people mimicking, that's different. But for most people to be teaching this stuff, who read the Bible and believing in Calvary, how can Israel then be believing and teaching the same thing about Calvary, that your salvation comes out of that piece of wood? So you want to question if that's all right, or if there's something wrong with that. Now, he also says, though, in the same Isaiah 29:24, they also that erred in spirit. And the verse before, he's saying they shall fear the God of Israel, as if they're not really fearing right now. But anyway, they have erred in spirit. So it is not a matter of trying to bash people and put you down and so on. This is a serious Bible teaching, a serious Bible series with the New Testament is Fake series, to have you question things, question what you believe, because he's saying here they have erred in spirit, but basically they're going to come to understanding or come to truth. So if you have been told you have the truth, why is he saying they have erred in spirit? And basically they're not going to get the truth until the restoration. Now that does not mean no one person at all has the truth. But he's saying the masses of people who believe this stuff, believe the lies, they have erred. So in large part, we have erred. Although everyone would in the nation would be lumped under the banner of being deceived. Because some people who would have gone into captivity and being then punished with the nation would have gone in, maybe just a handful, knowing that we are being punished and that they also have to suffer for the other people who would not follow the Torah. But he's saying they have erred in spirit. They have not erred in something outside of that, just being fleshy, like we use this term in the Christian church. You're living in the flesh, you're living according to the flesh, or you're so worldly. No, these ones have erred in the spirit. They have erred in the inner recesses of the heart, deep inside the spirit. They have erred in the heart where they're looking at their actions, their life, their beliefs, looking at the scriptures, looking at the word, trying to find God. That's where they have erred. In the place where things really matter, deep inside the recesses of the heart. The hidden places where only spirit can traverse, where only spirit can go. They have erred in spiritual matters. So the next time a teacher tells you something about Calvary or about God, whatever it is, but in this case it's the New Testament is Fake series. So if they tell you about Calvary that you should trust in that, it is not bashing people, but rather teaching you to take some time to stop and question, is this person teaching me this about Calvary, trusting in Calvary, because they themselves have erred and are just teaching the wrong thing, because they have erred in a powerful matter, in a powerful, deep-seated way inside the being of themselves. They have erred in spirit. So if you are Israelite or the Christian church and you're speaking in tongues and whatever, he's saying you have erred in spirit. So when you claim that you are in the spirit, he's saying that's where these people have erred. They have erred in spirit. So just because something looks right does not necessarily mean you must search and be on a quest for wisdom. Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 13. Let's run to that one. And just a quick moment before I read this to thank everyone who has followed me on this channel with the New Testament is Fake series, as well as the other lessons I do in the series. Like in just this series alone, I am close to 300 lessons now, which I feel very good about. I stuck it through. There are lots of times I really truly feel I've given it from myself, and that's coming out again in this lesson here. So thanks for all those who have stopped by my channel to take some time to listen to what I say. And most of all, I just want you to search for truth in the Bible and outside the Bible, wherever you can find it, with an honest approach to just looking for truth, no matter what it's going to cost you. But remember now, if something is going to cost you something, you can sometimes try to control how it costs you and how much you have to pay at a certain time. Don't just wreck your entire life carelessly. When I first understood this Israelite stuff and Torah stuff, I took some time. I took about 6 months examining it and so on before I tried to change it myself, and before I pulled away from the Christian church. I didn't just, oh, this is the truth, and the same day just say I'm done with the Christian church. Some people might do it like that, others might take a little bit more time. Some people might take a year or two, whatever. I'm not judging people in terms of those things. I see some pastors with some nice churches, and they know New Testament is not right according to what's written in the Old Testament. But they feel they have too much to lose. But instead of jumping to change immediately and crashing the boat and losing all that they've built, their church and whatever, maybe if they take a little bit longer time, 2-3 years, whatever it takes you, I'm not judging you, you can find a way, especially if you believe that God has been leading you all along. Now, when you actually find the truth, why don't you believe He can lead you into restructuring things? And in the end, if you say you can't turn and teach the truth now because you've grown up this big church for so long with lots of members and whatever, you can't bear to lose everything, so you keep teaching the thing you know is not true now that you've found it out. But according to your Bible, your New Testament rather, when people end up in hell, they really will lose everything suddenly. So you gotta weigh things. Will you lose things now, or lose because you're making some changes, or lose everything at the end? Like the Bible says, to wake up early and eat the bread of sorrow in the end. Some people are waking up early to make up lessons to teach the wrong thing to people, and in the end they will eat the bread of sorrow. Jeremiah 23 and verse 13. And I have seen folly in the prophets of Samaria. So not simply folly in the individual citizens, folly in Israelites that's just working at the market, selling their little food and working in the field or wherever. But I've seen folly in the top people of Samaria, the prophets, the ones who say, I have seen prophets in the ones who say they are connected deeper to God and who have access to the deeper knowledge of God and have good rapport with other prophets and other strong teachers, and who know where the priests live and where the scribes live. They can talk to the scribe and try to. I've seen prophets who are in folly. They prophesied in Baal and caused my people to err. Now, because these prophets are in touch with scribes and priests and know the inner things of the Word of God, if they went on to teach in Baal, that means they intended to cause the people to err. So you got to look at your current teacher today in 2022. Now we're soon going into 2023, and understand that after all this time, people who are teaching you things, and they are the upper ones and leading your group, your church, your organization, they already know the truth in most cases. They know it. So they are then teaching you intentionally to cause you to err, to cause my people Israel to err. Because the prophet that folly was found in would have already read from the scriptures that the Most High charged his angels with folly, or would have heard something like that. Especially too, that if they are in touch with the scribes and the priests and so on, the priest who has to go into the presence of the Lord, and they know the scribes, they can just go to the scribe and see and talk to the scribe and so on, and the scribe will tell them, no, we wrote that because this is what the ancients thought, this is what Moses thought, this is, and so on and so on. And they say, this is why we wrote this, because this cannot be any different from what was there before. We wrote it like this because this is how it came from God. And God had said, do not teach these things, do not teach about Baal, do not worship Baal, and so on. They would have known from the scribe that we use this and that word and this and that letter, because to change it another way will let the teaching come out as a teaching of Baal. So the people teaching you, who are the real strong teachers and the real strong people of Torah that you know, and your pastors and so on, they have been in this thing a long time. They've got the most expensive lexicons and kind of fancy Bibles out there and so on, and dictionaries and so on. They know what they are teaching you is wrong, but they still continue to do it because they are causing you to err. But the Most High said, I found folly in them. Now, let's run over to the book of Revelations, New Testament now. Revelations chapter 2 and verse 2. I know thy works and thy labor, and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil. And thou hast tried them which say they are apostles, and are not, and hast found them liars. Now, this is Jesus speaking to John here and speaking to the church, the quote unquote fake new Israel in the New Testament. He's saying to them, I know how you have carried yourself, how you have lived, and you have tried those who said they're apostles, but they're really not. They're just deceivers, they're liars. You have found them to be liars, nothing but deceivers. And again, my title here is Thieves and Liars Complain. Now listen, Jesus is telling this to John in the revelation of Jesus to John, and has found them to be liars. Isn't this kind of strange for the New Testament, Jesus and anyone else in the New Testament to be accusing, to be complaining that deceivers who are New Testament apostles here, like John, who are not obeying Torah scriptures, to not believe in this Jesus and so on, he is complaining that the deceivers of the New Testament, the disciples turned apostles, are complaining that other apostles are liars. Hello. How can a deceiver teaching you about Calvary come to you and tell you that you are a deceiver and a liar when they are teaching lies against what Torah taught, against what Moses and the other prophets and so on taught? So liars are complaining that there are some liars around in the church. Deceivers are complaining that some apostles are deceivers. Because a deceiver does not want to be bothered, does not want to be interfered with by anyone. It's kind of like one thief, because they're teaching against the Torah, right? In telling you to focus on Calvary and receive salvation at Calvary and so on. It's like one thief watching another thief, or the corner of his eye, and watching his actions and so on, because he's afraid that the other thief might steal an extra amount of the stuff from him out of the stuff that they both stole together from somebody else. Like the thief don't trust the other thief because they both know that they are thieves. I know he's a thief. And he's like, I know he's a thief, so I better watch him. So here some apostles lie to you, like I told you in a lesson a long time ago. Apostle from apostate, means they left something, they left off of the truth, and the truth would have been Torah up to that point, and still is. So the apo, if you break down the word, is saying against. So if they are apo, they are against the truth, against Torah, which is the truth. Thy word is truth, thy law is truth. So the apo, once fighting against the truth, the apo or apostolic, or the followers who are of Jesus who are against the truth of Torah, are saying that other people are against what lies they are teaching in the church or in the New Testament. Something is wrong. Something is seriously wrong. You got to understand, people, that some teachers teach a GMO or genetically modified revelation that they got from the New Testament, or got through Jesus, or got through Calvary, when the real truth was already laid out in the Old Testament. No wonder Jesus said he's coming, Paul said he's coming like a thief in the night. Jesus coming like a thief, because the whole thing about Calvary and Jesus was based on a lie. Now he's coming like a thief to snatch you away. Now if you read Torah, in different places it will tell you that he will raise up a branch and so on, and he's going to raise up David and a great one, I forgot how it said it, basically is going to rise up, and a call will be put out to the nations, and he's going to send and search to rescue his own and so on, gather them from the far heavens of the earth. And they're going to just basically search, and he's going to give out a call to the nations to bring his people home. So nothing is being hidden and silently done to rescue his people out of their captivity. But Jesus is going to come like a thief in the night. like to snatch you away silently, to bring you in a rapture up to heaven, to live in mansions. When the Torah says you're being gathered to go back to your land and you're going to rebuild the waste places. You see? Because the whole thing is done in just a twisted, convoluted kind of deception. That now to end it all, we got to pull this off silently, quietly, quick, in the middle of the night, before people find out what hit them. And now the world is coming to terms with there might not be quite a rapture that they've been taught. Some people are still holding on. You watch them on YouTube all the time, especially the Christians. Oh, I know the rapture is coming soon. I know the rapture. I need to give dates. Some say I won't give dates, but I know it's coming. I know it's coming now. This year. They don't give a specific date, but they said this year, or this is going to lead to it now. This is now. This is the time. And then it don't come. And so there's, this. And some of them are slowly trying to back down, slowly, because they realize it don't look like it's happening. So I'm wondering, when things really pop off fully, what are they going to say? When there's no rapture, like, it's a cruel, dirty game. It's a really low down, dirty game to treat the world like that, to treat people like that, to tell them there is a hope in this rapture that comes out of Calvary sacrifice, and have the people waiting. I just thank God I've been delivered from such thoughts and such a belief. All right? So, I don't know. You just have to think for yourself that something is wrong with this. Again, it was thieves and liars complain. They're complaining that somebody is stealing, somebody is deceiving, somebody is lying, when that's what they are doing themselves in the New Testament. That's found those apostles and so on, found them to be liars. They are fake. That's exactly what I've called this series of lessons. The New Testament is fake. Thanks again for listening. Yalak Emmett Channel, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon.